if it's more broad, I would say that the number one thing I'd recommend people do is know if you're making a project to learn or a product. Because if you're making a project to learn, all the time you spend on it's probably valuable in some degree. But if you're making a product, a lot of that time can be wasted. And if you don't picture yourself sitting there and money falling out of your back pocket the whole time you sit there, you're going to end up spending a lot of time. And this isn't to be like saying games can't be fun, but my point is one of the most depressing things I see, and I see it far too often, is people who spend a year to 3 years working on one project and either don't release it or they do release it and 50 people play it. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see people waste their life on something and be, heartbroken when it doesn't work. And the truth is, it's because there's too many things to learn, and some of that stuff you only learn by putting a game out or having people play it. And so that when people say make small games, they're not doing it to be mean. They're saying if you make something too big, you're like, it's like trying to run a really long distance. The amount of times you could trip, there's loads of them. But if you make a small journey, you can only trip once or twice, and you can learn how to not trip, and you're learning how to get better in wider distances. If you take too big of a project, you'll probably trip somewhere, but you won't know you've tripped until you release it, and it doesn't turn out the way you want to, and then that might kill your enthusiasm to make games ever. And I would rather see people make small things that aren't as cool as they want, but lots of them, until they suddenly realize they're good enough to make the thing they want, than picking something too big and then failing at it. And so having a goal that's short, that's kind of defined. There's something called smart project management. Specifically, each project should be specific, and you can go through the whole thing of measurable and whatever. But the point is, there's a set of rules for how you'd make something that's actually achievable, that's doable, and try to do that. Try to pause every so often and say, "Am I actually achieving a goal?" Otherwise, years will go by, and you'll be angry at yourself, and you won't achieve what you want to. So, the small goals, the small games thing, it isn't a meme, and there's not a reason